Hello everyone and welcome to another Gjalt 101. In this episode, I will help you to get started with TMS WEB Core for Visual Studio Code. We will go over where to find it, how to install and license it, and we will create a simple first application. We have now released TMS WEB Core for Visual Studio Code, and although it was tested extensively, this is still some kind of beta version to make sure that even the most exotic bug is out of the code. But it's already possible to purchase the project, and this is at launch price, which is to my opinion really low if you imagine what you can all do with TMS WEB Core. But you also have guaranteed support and updates for 1 year starting from the official release date. For people who already have a TMS WEB Core license, it is also possible to use TMS WEB Core for Visual Studio Code. There are two ways to get the Visual Studio Code plugin. First of all, you can go to our website tmssoftware.com/site/tmswebcore.vsc.asp. VSC is the abbreviation that we will use for Visual Studio Code. There you'll find some information on the WebCore Visual Studio Code, and on the bottom you will find the button to request a trial key if you don't already have a TMS WEB Core license. Below that there is the Visual Studio Code download link. In that you will find a zip file which has some documentation and a VSIX file. So then if you go to Visual Studio Code, if you go to extensions, which is this button, then click on the more button, you can select install from VSIX and then you can choose your VSIX file. Another way is to use the marketplace, and we are already there. Here you can search for extensions in the marketplace, and if you search for TMS WEB Core, you'll find it, and then you can click install. As you can see, I already installed it, so here we can uninstall or disable it, but you will find the button install. Now this is a trial version, so the difference between a trial version and a licensed version is that first of all you'll get a message pop-up every time you run the website. Second, you don't have the possibility to debug in your code, which is now possible in Visual Studio Code. And third, you don't have access to the source code. But how do you get to the licensed version? Well, you can click the Manage button and then Command Palette. There is another way, but you need to get to the commands. And there you can have TMS Generate License. This will give you a dialog where you fill in your registration email and your registration code. Now it doesn't matter if you are using a trial or a licensed version, you can still create your first application. In Visual Studio Code, if you go in your sidebar to TMS repository, you there find the different things that you can create. Notice that the progressive web applications and the Electron applications are not yet available in the first version of TMS WEB Core for Visual Studio Code. So let's create a TMS web application. It will ask you where you want to save it. So each project needs to be in a different folder. This is different with Delphi. So there you can have multiple projects in the same folder. Now you need to create a different folder for each project. Once it is ready, you'll notice that the GUI is very similar to Delphi. Now we can select a TWeb button, put it on the form, double click on it to go to the POS file, and there we'll set the web button 1.caption to Hello World. Now we can start without debugging, and the website should normally open. So now we have our application. And if we click on the web button, Hello World, there it is, our first simple TMS WEB Core for Visual Studio Code application. Now why would you use Visual Studio Code to create TMS WEB Core applications? Well, first of all, Visual Studio Code is an app based on web technology. So you can design applications with web components directly in a web environment. This makes it possible to give you the what you see is what you get experience with an HTML rendered form and the use of CSS files. Another huge advantage is that you can run Visual Studio Code in Windows, macOS and Linux because it's based on web technology. And as I already mentioned, you can now step through your Object Pascal code and watch variables in the IDE instead of having to look for them in the browser. Thank you for watching this video on TMS WEB Core for Visual Studio Code. Like the video if you found this helpful, and see you in 2 weeks. Bye!